When I get a question what ultralight cookset to go for, I always recommend a canister stove like the Windmaster and a titanium pot, if only boiling water. That is the lightest and most efficient way to go with the least bulk. But when I did my episode about what not to bring backpacking, I found out that TRANGIA have made an ultralight solution below 200 grams and with a very attractive price tag. And with the help from your super thanks, I bought one to try out and see if it is good or bad. And if this is something that I could recommend for those seeking a reliable, good and lightweight budget option. Stay tuned for the review on the TRANGIA Micro-Light. I have been using a canister stove like this one for many years now, and my go-to stove over the years have been the BRS 3000T, the SOTO AMICUS and the SOTO Windmaster. That together with my 500ml titanium pot from EVERNEW. But if you like cooking, I mean real cooking in the outdoors and not only boiling water or heating up soup like me, these cook sets, they are worthless. They truly are. Using ultralight cook sets, like the one I normally use and the one I'm about to review today, is based on you only bringing freeze-dried food, and for that you only need to boil water. Maybe okay to heat up some pre-made food like meat sauce or soup or maybe noodles, but that's about it. That said, let's continue and look at my new set from TRANGIA, the Micro-Light. I will give you the specs, the features and how it performs when it comes to the boiling times and fuel efficiency. And in the end also the pros and the cons to see if this one is good or bad. First of all, what is the TRANGIA Micro-Light? Well, it's a gel fuel based system for 1 or 2 people with the urge of going light and with the need of only boiling water. It contains of a 500ml pot made in aluminium that weighs in at 114 grams, lid included. It also contains a windshield to protect from the wind and to serve as a pot stand that weighs in at 52 grams. Finally, we have the stove itself, which isn't more than a small can with a lid, made in aluminium, and it weighs in at 18 grams. All in all, the total specified weight by TRANGIA is 188 grams. But mine weighs in slightly lower at 184 grams, so that's a bonus. And size-wise, it's a really small and compact system. And all parts fit nicely into the pot. The packed size is 112mm in diameter by 83mm high. And actually, it is much like the size of my usual cook set, the EVERNEW 500ml pot, together with my SOTO Windmaster. In both of these I can also have room for my wide low follow cup, or a pair of fuel blocks if you prefer that. Finally, the lid locks everything into place nicely. When it comes to fuel, it is designed to be used with gel fuel or solid fuel like S-Bits. The brand that TRANGIA recommend is the Fire Dragon, either as gel blocks or gel in a bottle, and both are ethanol-based gel fuel. The small gel blocks might be the simplest way to go, but also the heaviest. One of these weighs in at 30 grams each. Both the gel blocks and the gel in a bottle being somewhat tricky to find out in your everyday store, so be sure to order some online well in advance before your trip. The most interesting thing beside the weight and the size is of course the performance. And I've tested out this little stove in both perfect conditions to get an idea of how it works, and outdoors in colder conditions with a little bit of wind to get an idea how it would work in a real scenario out on the trail. Inside and in perfect conditions, I started out trying the gel blocks. It is 27 grams of fuel in each block, which should be enough for boiling 1 liter of water. Here we only boil 500ml or slightly above 2 cups. The boiling time from cold tap water to big bubbles was 5 minutes and 50 seconds, and the total burning time for the gel block was almost 8 minutes. After that I tried the gel in a bottle, and I used a scale to measure up 20 grams. This to have a bit of burning time left after the boil, but not as much as the gel block. This time I got the boil already after 5 minutes, and the total burning time of the 20 grams was 6 minutes and 35 seconds. The day after the indoor test, I took it outside. And lucky for me, we had the first snow during the night, and the temperature were in the morning about 1 degree Celsius with a little bit of wind, so perfect conditions to try out my new stove. And for the outdoor test, I also left the fuel outdoors during the night for it to be as cold as it would be if hiking in these temperatures. I measured up 20 grams to start with, and like you can see, the wind picked up some and moved the flame and destroyed the handle of my pot. No! Not so nice maybe, but what was even worse was that we didn't achieve a boil with the 20 grams. I therefore tried the gel blocks instead with 27 grams of fuel. I fired it up and measured the time, but just like with the 20 grams, we didn't achieve a boil before the flame was out after already 6 minutes. When it comes to the smoke, there were none. When it comes to the smell, it smelled like any other alcohol-based system, I would say. One downside that I could see was the soot. Like you can see on the pot, it is not soot-free, so when storing it in your pack, you need some kind of bag to put it in. To wrap up the performance, I gotta say I'm a little bit disappointed. The fuel consumption in good conditions is really good and comparable to any other alcohol stove, and about 15 grams is needed to boil 500 milliliters of water. But when we move outdoors, we couldn't even get a boil with a reasonable amount of fuel, and this is already in 1 degree Celsius with a mild breeze. And the one to blame for this is not the fuel, but the windshield. It is just not good, protecting the flame, resulting in a higher fuel consumption and less burning time, and with a no boil as a result. For this I can only recommend Trangia to do a little bit of homework and come back with a better design. After trying it out, I think I have a clear idea what to think. And I have some pros and cons that I want to share with you guys, starting with the pros. It comes with a very affordable price. It is small and lightweight. It has no moving parts that can break. It is very silent, no sound, just like an alcohol stove. The fuel can also be used as a fire starter. And the cons? It is less efficient in cold conditions. You have no control over the flame, and it is quite high, so not to be used inside a tent. No savings of leftover fuel. You get residue after using the gel-based fuel, so it needs cleaning and it adds a little bit to the weight. It gets very hot underneath, so where you put it, it's important. It is very, very wind sensitive due to the poor design of the windshield. One big advantage to this system though is the compatibility with other Trangia sets. That means that you can use the gel burner in a 27 or 25 set, or in a Trangia triangle. But it also means that you can use your standard Trangia burner inside your Micro-Light, like this. It fits right in. If doing so, your weight will increase to 276 grams for the full set, but then you will have a much easier time finding fuel and also the possibility to save fuel in between boils. That said and all, I also wanted to compare the TRANGIA Micro-Light to my usual setup, the SOTO Windmaster and the EVERNEW Titanium Pot as well. It is almost as lightweight, 184 grams compared to 142 grams. It is just as small and takes up like no space in your backpack. But that's where the similarities end. The Trangia takes about 3 times longer to get a boil, and it is very wind sensitive, where the Windmaster is not. But the luxury set, if to call it that, costs a lot more. The Windmaster and the Triflex stand costs about 1100 Swedish, and the EVERNEW Titanium Pot costs about 700. So the total cost for this set is 1,800 Swedish, or about $165. But it is also that much better. But if you don't have the money to spend, I wouldn't recommend going with the Micro anyways, because of its sensitivity to wind and the difficulty to find fuel. What I recommend you doing instead is to buy the Trangia pot separately, because it's a nice one and costs only 156 Swedish. Then you buy your SOTO AMICUS with or without an igniter, and you find yourself with a set not quite as good and not quite as light as the Windmaster EVERNEW combo, but not far from. The total weight for your new and relatively cheap set will be 194 grams, and the cost about 650 Swedish or $60. And let me tell you, it is worth every dime spent more, because it is so much better than the Micro-Light. I really wanted to like it, I even tried to like it, but I just can't. It is just not good enough to recommend to anyone. Sorry I recommended in my previous video, and sorry Trangia, but that is the truth. Now I hope you have enjoyed today's episode and the review about the TRANGIA Micro-Light, and that I delivered what was promised in the thumbnail. If not, or if you have anything to add, just leave a comment and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. But for now, this is it. If you liked today's episode, take a look at these 2 recommendations on my other videos. Also do hit like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any future content. I hope to see you again next week, but for now take care Safe hiking and bye bye.